What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. And on this video, I want to talk about this PDF that I found entitled Absolutely Zero Carbon Emissions. And that basically means the end of life as we know it today to be gone forever, because anything that's natural has some form or amount of carbon emission. Now, this is from the UK. This is right here. We can see UK demand for energy intensive materials is growing, driving increased emissions in the UK and abroad. UK Fires is a research program sponsored by the UK government aiming to support a 20% cut in the UK's emissions by 2050. This is kind of like the whole Agenda 2030 on steroids here. We're going to go down to their chart, and basically right here it says we can't wait for breakthrough technologies to deliver net zero emissions by 2050. Instead, we can plan to respond by climate change. There's that beautiful term that you guys know I love. It's one of the best scapegoat terms. Using today's technologies with incremental change. This will reveal many opportunities from growth, but requires a public discussion about future lifestyles. When it says future lifestyles, this means that it's going to be personal, it is going to affect you personally, and it's going to affect every way of your life personally. You and me, you and me. So scrolling down here, you guys can get the whole article, and I'll paste it on either my website or down in the description box below or on my Patreon. It might not be in the description box below due to censorship stuff. So if we go down here, we have this chart, and this is what I want to break down with you guys today, because right here we see the timeline 2020 to 29, 2030 to 2049, 2050, absolute zero. You can see some red dots, which resemble absolutely the end of something that we have currently that they are trying to completely omit 100%. Obviously, there are some sectors here that you can't omit 100%, but they greatly reduce it, cause bans, fees, imprisonment, all types of things if you don't cooperate and obey with this new system, with this new world order. And this is what we're getting into. So road vehicles, I want to talk about over here. Federal bill seeks to ban gas-powered vehicles by 2035. Now, we're already seeing that in the West Coast. We're seeing that in California. You know, you guys know that I talked about this a little bit of last year into early January because EV stocks were going insane. And I do post all the stocks that I invest in based off the news and research that I follow. That's kind of my way of investing, is because I know where the world is going. And it's a great way to kind of see from these articles ways that you can actually capitalize on it in a sense. If you guys are into that, all the stocks that I am currently invested in is only on my Patreon. And over here, they're banning, they want to completely ban gas powered cars, the sale of them. And they're doing that. China, I know it's already happening. And I think Costa Rica, it is already happening. We're seeing this already. And you guys know I'm very old school. I love my old school cars. I got a Buick. I'm a Buick girl. I love the old school cars, the gas cars. I will never, ever. I'm not an electric person here. Fact box, fossil fuel-based vehicle bans across the world. They want everything to turn 100% electric. As we have been talking about, if you guys want to catch up on everything, I've been talking about this. I have a whole playlist on smart sewers, on how they are tracking literally what you're eating through your waste, on all the different things that are, we're going to break it down in this video. How they're trying to get rid of gas-powered vehicles. United States, California bans the sale of new gasoline-powered passenger cars and trucks starting in 2035. We have Canada, 2035. German cities started to introduce bans on older diesel vehicles that emit higher amounts of pollutants already 3 years ago. Norway, China was in 2017. And it says here, the world's biggest auto market, sales of new energy vehicles will make up 50% of overall new car sales in China by 2035. And I'm hearing that the stickers for your license plate, if it is, obviously this is not set in stone, it's not straight fact, but I'm hearing that the sticker price of, having a gas fossil fuel power vehicle will be extremely expensive. So what is this agenda pushing? Well, going back here, we're seeing that they're trying to take away our mainstream source of transportation, which is gas-powered vehicles. There are people who have Teslas, there are people who have electric cars, but it's not the majority of people like you and me. We're still driving gas cars, so we need to break that down, introduce how great Tesla is. NEO is skyrocketing. It has been. It went down a little bit, but NEO is a big thing, and just electric cars in general. We know from previous videos, Ford is on board, and they're trying to take away your independent transportation, let alone if the grid, which I've talked about this new pandemic, I have a video on it of these cyber attacks and how we'll have a whole gridlock system. Essentially, they're taking away your ability. They're trying to control you down to your vehicles. Why? Because eventually they want to push you into smart cities. How are they going to do that? Well, they need to tackle the rail systems. And as you know, Biden is big on the rail system. So let's look at this article. 2 states tax some drivers by the mile. Many more want to give it a try. And this is going to go bigger and bigger and bigger. It's going to cost you a lot of money, and it's going to make it very inconvenient, very not economically friendly to you to drive a gas-powered vehicle. You're going to be like, well, why not? Let me just go electric. It's easier. There's more electric. Now you'll see one pump at a gas station for electric cars, or one charging station, and you have like 10 pumps for gas. It's going to be reversed. And now it's going to be less convenient for you over the years, and you're just going to give. You're just going to give like all people do. And right here, the article says it in black and white. Biden wants you out of your car and onto the train. The president's $2 trillion infrastructure proposal boosts funding for buses and rail. It even envisions actually tearing down some freeways. And this goes all into your social credit system. I had a whole video on that. However, it was taken down. I re-uploaded it on my BitChute, and it should still be on there, and it is on my Patreon. And then I kind of recreated it here on this channel. So far, it's still on there. Definitely give that a listen to, because essentially this is what's all happening is they're going to get facial recognition in order to go on the bus, in order to go on the train. You can't drive. If you need to get somewhere, you have to go on these ways of transportation, and you can't drive your car. You're going to see how it's massively going to unfold before your eyes, because this is already happening. And what's really interesting is that I talked about this in a previous video about the rail project and how they're connecting and building all these new rail systems and transportations that kind of connect everything. Speaking of connecting everything, we have the first time ever in history where Canadian Pacific Railway to buy Kansas City Southern for $25 billion. So we are now connected. Okay. On Sunday, it agreed to buy Kansas City Southern for $25 billion in a cash and shares deal to create the first rail network connecting the United States, Mexico, and Canada. Okay, so this is a really big deal, and we already know from my previous posts on Patreon when I told you guys the stocks that I was getting into for Biden's infrastructure bill set to be passed, and I have all those stocks that I suggest you to get into: steel, construction, roadways, stuff like this, all dealing with the infrastructure plan. But this has a much deeper, darker, controlling fascist agenda at hand. And not only is it the rail systems, you guys, it is the airlines. We know the airlines faced a lot of up and downs during this past year. And it says here by 2029, all airports except Heathrow, Glasgow, and Belfast close with transfers by rail. So you will be transporting yourself if you're poor. If you're rich, you can still fly, though. You're rich and carbon, you can still have carbon if you're rich. And then all remaining airports close. And then over here at absolute zero 2050, you see the red dot. And then you want the beyond 2050, you want to see planes fly with synthetic fuel, which we're already seeing at hand. This is already happening, guys. This is nothing that's, 2050, well, I'll be old by then, I won't care, it doesn't matter. It's already happening. US Airlines to go net zero carbon emissions by 2050. This was posted less than a week ago, March 31st, 2021. And it all has to do with the green initiative, more sustainability, climate change, carbon, all this stuff, blah, 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 create a problem, create a solution. The airline industry globally has made a goal to reduce the emissions by 50% of 2005 levels by 2050. And they're already creating this fuel. They're already testing these new ways to fuel these planes. And even my favorite website ever, which will tell you everything you ever need to know about what is the plan and goal to happen in the future, World Economic Forum, it says the world needs carbon neutral flying. Here's how to bring it one step closer. And they have a whole article on this and how horrible it is to use a plane. But if you're rich, you can always use your private jet and plane, and that doesn't matter. It's all about control of other people. And then that brings me to the next form of transportation or way to import products is shipping. As you guys know, there's so much drama constantly being reported about shipping and logistics and how that the one ship got stuck in the Suez Canal, snarled by giant ship choking key trade routes. And because of this, and this was all over the place, everyone had to hear about this. It was the same article. And because of this massive problem, it ignited some type of idea that we have to completely reconstruct the shipping industry, completely start to develop smart ports. And that if this happens ever again, look at how detrimental it is to our economy and to, importing and exporting and how it's blocking the trade route. We have to do something about this. So of course they created yet another problem to introduce a new solution. So it says a giant ship could be stuck in the Suez Canal for days, blocking one of the world's busiest maritime trade routes that's vital for movement of everything from oil to consumer goods. So they're saying, well, because this happened, we have to absolutely change everything. Everything has to change. And we need to decarbonize it as well because, of course, climate change. So right here on the World Economic Forum, they jump right on that and it says a new report outlines the shipping industry's plans for decarbonization. The shipping sector must cut its carbon emissions if we are to meet the Paris Agreement's climate change targets. And then over here, we have Getting to Zero. This is a new initiative that's being released. And it's inside a new coalition for greener shipping. They want to change the complete shipping. They want to have smart ports. I think I pulled up an article to show you guys right here, smart ports to become global logistics information exchange hubs. They want to track everything, what's going in, what's coming out. All of this has to do with tracking and watching and monitoring your every move. And a lot of it has to do with the food and agricultural industry, which I have so many videos on what all the farmers are currently going through. All types of, the CEO of Impossible Foods wants to completely, as well as Bill Gates, wants to completely have synthetic food, lab grown food, eating insects. Even the dog food is changing to insect proteins. How horrible it is for the environment and the animals. And they're paying off farmers to say, hey, I'll give you this money if you give me your pig rights. Now they're selling the rights to have pigs, and we're going to get into it. And not only that, but it will affect you even more personally with your, right here in this section of heating and appliances with your home. And over here, it's saying that cities are banning natural gas in new homes. They don't want you to have a gas stove. They want your, refrigerator and stuff to be much more smaller. And they are working on that continuously. As you know, the solar industry has skyrocketed in this past year. Solar is up so much to get everyone's electricity on the grid. They don't want gas anymore. And it's quite alarming. Banning natural gas is out, electrifying buildings is in. And they're even going to as far, depending on what state or country you're in, that any house built after this certain date has to be electric. It cannot be gas. So that includes with your heats, with your gas stoves, the way you get your electricity, it has to be all on electrical grid, all solar, all something that doesn't emit carbon. And they are changing everything. And of course, they blame wood stoves, which again, people have had since the first century, not maybe an actual wood stove. People have been burning wood to cook food for a very long time. This is absolutely not the problem. Blame wood burning stoves for winter air pollution and health threats. No, that's not the problem. Absolutely not the problem. But they're blaming it to be. So we have to change that. You have to change your home. You're not allowed to have this. There will be a ban. There will be a fine. There will be imprisonment. And back over here, of course, we get to the food. Now, the food, I have a whole playlist on how the food industry is changing. I highly suggest you guys to take a look at that. But even over here in Walmart, they're already introducing more Beyond Meat products. Beyond Meat, if you don't know, is synthetic lab grown meat. They definitely target towards veganism, and people like to portray veganism as something that's saving the planet when in actuality it's a scapegoat to kind of pull on your heartstrings about certain things. And they're literally burning tons of chickens and they're getting rid of the cows and the pigs, and it is becoming an absolute disaster. And they want to feed you synthetic meat. They want to feed you upcycled. That's what they're calling it, because we're going to a cyclical economy where everything is going to be rotated. There's going to be no more new products and new things. We're going to upcycle everything, including your own waste, and refeeding it back to you. I've done a whole video on that. And oh my gosh, it's just going crazy. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, global meat production will decline in 2020 for the second year in a row, and only the third year since 1961. And they want that to continue to decline. They have the pigs declining, the cows declining, and they want it to continue to decline to cost more money. So again, it's less economically convenient and sound for you to obtain. They're going to cause farmers to not have them, to cause bans, all these different laws, all these different things. They're going to watch you from the satellites and from the sewers, as above, so below. I believe my sewer video is on my Patreon only, where they have been developing smart sewers, and they say through looking through your feces, they can detect a COVID outbreak. So therefore, and it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with getting to the point where you will be eating things you won't be allowed to eat. How did you get that? How did you consume it out? And who is it in this neighborhood? Because it'll all be tracked. And if it's not, then it'll be all from the satellite. They're calling it climate cops. And from the satellite, they're going to see who's emitting carbon from their wood burning stove. We're going to find them. We're going to target them. The feds will come after you. It's a whole thing. And you already see this in action, because we see right here, the Senate bill aims to eliminate all CAFOs in 20 years. The Farm System Reform Act gained new studies this summer and fall, as a U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren co-sponsored it in June. The bulk of the bill targets large concentrated animal feeding operations. The goal is to eliminate large operations in the next 20 years, with no large operations able to go on after January 1st, 2040. As described in this resolution, CAFOs are animal feeding operations that include a minimum of 700 dairy cows, 100 beef cattle, 2,500 pigs, weighing more than 55 pounds. The farming industry is really going through it. And I know that if you're a farmer or has a family farm or something like this, or you're big in the commercial industry of agriculture, they are changing it completely. They are completely centralizing everything to a whole new degree. And we're seeing it again in all sectors here. We're seeing it everywhere. And all these different ways they're creating this food, and it's absolutely not good for your health. It doesn't even compute with you can't even get the right nutrition. Our soil is already messed up enough that once the messed up soil grows the plant is nutrient deficient, which means you will be nutrient deficient because you're eating a nutrient deficient food, because the soil is so nutrient deficient. So it's this chain reaction. And what's going on here is they're creating things basically out of thin air, waste, insect proteins, soybeans, all types of different things. And it's not natural. It's very crazy. Right here in this article, it says, changing our diet by 2050 is essential to achieving a sustainable future. The World Resources Institute offers a 5-course menu of solutions, because they're saying that the world is wasting too much food. And I already talked about this. It has to go with the Reset Table Initiative. What's going on with the Clean Plate campaign in China that I talked about last year on my channel. It's all in my playlist. And now China is going as far as using facial recognition in trash bins to make sure people recycle. Because again, we're going into a cyclical community where you will upcycle your trash and refeed the people with it through labs. So let's think how nutrient dense that will be. And they will eventually give them a low credit score if they see you wasting too much food, or maybe prohibit you from buying a certain type of food at the store because they said you wasted it last week. It's all going to be centralized, all going to be controlled. And I've been covering this for a while now, guys. So I definitely recommend you guys to check up on my playlist to see how much this is progressing. And I know it says 2050, but it has already been happening. Now we're going into mining, material sourcing, material production, construction, manufacturing, fossil fuels. So these kind of all I'm going to tie together here. And we already know that Biden is having this big infrastructure bill. And right here, he says a way forward on climate change is a focus on reducing heavy industry carbon emissions like iron, steel, and cement production. That's all going to change. As you guys know, I have invested in quite a few of these types of stocks. They are listed on my Patreon. If you're not a member, consider doing so for all my research and stuff like that, because I have been demonetized and censored and banned and all types of things. And Biden is just crazy. Over here, we have safe, secure, sustainable. And this is where we're looking at waste management. And again, a circular, I keep saying cyclical, I'm sorry, I mean a circular economy, meaning that it goes around and around. What you use then will, we're not going to get anything new. We're just going to use what we have and create it. Because as you know, Bill Gates invested so much in waste management because he wants the control. And you have other investors as well. This is the circular economy in detail. It's basically a systematic approach to economic development designed to benefit business, society, and the environment, in contrast to the take, make, waste linear model. A circular economy is a regenerative by design and aims to gradually decouple growth from the consumption of finite resources. After defining what economy actually is, the learning path explores the nuances of the concept of a circular economy, including the difference between biological and technical materials, the different opportunities that exist to keep materials and products in use, and the history of the idea. Finally, the benefits of shifting from a linear to a circular economy. And they want to upcycle food. They're very big on the waste management. We're going to see a lot of new changes in waste management as well. Over here, waste management is Bill Gates' second choice. It should be your first, because they're going to change. We already see what's happening with the facial recognition in China. We saw what was happening with Reset the Table initiative, the Clean Plate campaign, all these different things. Over here, we're seeing a lot of carbon neutrality, the next big sustainable packaging thing. And we're going to start seeing this more and more in store shelves and how much environmentally friendly it is. So as you may have read recently about carbon neutral RPET, or about new forms of carbon negative deodorant packaging. Here's what you should know about carbon offsets. And they're going as far as changing all the packaging of different products, all these different types of things, because they need to ban all these different types of things that go into the full throttle agenda, which is what is all on this website here on this PDF. We're seeing it with technologies. Here we talked about the solar panels, the zero carbon emissions, fossil fuels, completely get rid of those. Don't have gas in your house. Don't have, everything needs to be on grid, including your source, every possible thing. They have it all labeled out on this article. I highly suggest you guys to take a look at it. And France actually was the first country, I believe, to actually say that they will be banning all oil and natural gas by 2040 within the country and its overseas territory. So it's already happening. It's been happening. And I just want to touch on this. I tried to make it as quick and concise as possible so I can maintain your guys' attention. So if I talk too fast or sped through them quickly, again, you can check out these on your own time and check out that PDF. It will be linked on my Patreon. And I definitely suggest you guys to take a look at this, and this helps you prepare for your own future and your family's future, let you know what you need to prepare for in order to combat certain things that you don't want to be a part of. It's all about, as much as they're trying to make it seem like this is going to be some euphoric utopia that we'll all be living in and loving each other and everything's going to be great, it's not. It's not. It has to do with absolute control of every person, what they're eating, what they're doing, what they're farming, what they're spending money on, what they're throwing away, you know, all these different personal things. You can't drive your car, you need to take this transportation, but in order to transportation, you need to have this certain passport. In order to have this certain passport, you need this certain little thing inside your body. All these different types of things. It's just one big interlocking chain. And if you have one part of the chain, you have all of it. You can't just have one part of the chain. So I just wanted to do a quick video on it. I know I went through a lot of these pretty quickly. I do have more in-depth videos on my entire playlist about this for you guys to check out for even more, because I know I put out a lot more thorough videos on each one of these sectors here. So yeah, it's a very interesting PDF that I found, wanted to share it with you guys. So if you guys support this research, feel free to subscribe and definitely support me on Patreon. The link is in the description box below, and I will see you guys in my next upcoming video. Thank you so much for watching.